I'm Jim Csek. You're watching KelownaNow. I'm here with Scott Dedels, and we have a guest here, another an employee of Block Rewards.
Yeah, another member of the team.
There you go, John Ely, and he's the CIO.
That's right.
Right, of Block Rewards. And we're going to talk about the Level Up AI Summit, and everybody sitting here, including John, is going to be at that summit.
That's right.
And I guess we're going to talk about why. Why would we want to go to that summit, right? And there's going to be a bit on digital currency in there, Bitcoin. Because in this AI world, we're going to need to transact fast. And why don't you tell me why you want to go?
Yeah,
I know why I'm going to go.
I mean, I think we're in the AI space tangentially, and this is some of the work that John's doing for us, and why John's joined us to talk a little bit about that today. What I've learned is a fast moving train that's moving way faster than almost everybody understands. And
that bright light is the train.
That's right. That bright light is the train. And so this is just something that is a bigger thing, a more transformative thing than the internet by far for its time, and it's going to affect everything. So there won't be an industry that isn't different after what will happen with the next sort of like wave of AI functionality over the coming. I don't know.
Even Strawberry, that's supposed to get released to the next. Well, text to action would be just like game changer, right? Like text to action, right? Yeah. So that alone, and the Apple launched their phone like this week, I think it was, and they're putting ChatGPT inside the phone, and if that ChatGPT can start controlling some of the devices or some of the apps in the phone, crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think, Jim, it's amazing because AI will improve our software, but it's also going to start to write our software as well, making the tech development just exponentially faster.
Yeah, we have a robotics company coming out of Salmon Arm. They got 60 programmers there, and they've created these robots that are mushroom pickers, and they pick mushrooms better than humans can, and they provide more yield and a better quality product, and they have a 2-year payback on that. And the robots are vision based, so they're learning every time they pick a mushroom on how to pick the next mushroom, and the robots or the software started to write its own code.
Wow. Yeah. No, they'll only get better and better as they get more data and they have more use. The AI will optimize itself and become even more useful.
Yeah, I think that, like, I'd say like in the past 2 months, I was using it like, every now and then. In the past month and a half, I don't use Google at all, really, unless I'm looking for a map. I'm having full-on verbal discussions with ChatGPT, or I call it Q, on an ongoing basis. And the cool thing is it remembers the discussions I was having with it, yesterday and the day before, and I can continue discussions, pick up those discussions. And I use it as part of my daily kind of routine, and it has made me so much more efficient in what I do. Mm-hmm. I think it can actually literally 10x you.
Yeah, I think, and there's this, naysayer belief that the extent of it is a tool, right? When at the rate it's learning and growing, like the nature of this thing is to use data to become better at what it's doing all the time, right? And so, right. So that thing, in and of itself, it's a continually self-improving system. And John's got a niche expertise in something called agentic workflow. John, like maybe give us a 2-minute overview of what we can expect to see from agents in the workplace over the next couple of years.
Yeah, so I find this really fascinating. If you think about most software, sort of it communicates via API with each other. With AI and their ability to understand natural language, the wrapper around software they become basically AI agents, almost like. They almost become people in and of themselves. And so their ability to communicate with other software is much greater. And I think that we'll start to see in the future, essentially people hiring AI agents to do some of the work that humans would do. and then also kind of be assistants beside humans to level up their game. And then as well, what's interesting is there's a kind of a more academic layer, which is just coming into maturity now, which allows AI agents to talk to each other and form teams. So essentially, as you've done, Jim, talking with ChatGPT, you can sort of get better answers out of it by continuing to, prompt it in different ways. And these AI agents essentially will do that for you, causing one agent to reflect upon its answer and improve it, and essentially delivering us humans better results.
And then Strawberry is supposed to be released in the next couple of weeks. They're saying, and maybe in that release they're going to look at text to action, and that's where transactions might happen too, when they're actually starting to transact or do different things, where they can control other devices or even create code to create platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there are some companies who are essentially rewriting their tech stack using AI, right from the ground up with sort of custom functionality built in. They're starting to replace some of their software systems, and yeah, text to action is going to be a huge new thing. Jim, I know since you're using ChatGPT, you might want to consider. I've really come to like a tool called Perplexity.ai, and what that does is that not only sort of answers your prompts, but it also provides links into the web and images to your questions, so that you can go off and learn more. So the number of tools coming out is fantastic, and as everyone knows, these models are just getting bigger and bigger and better and better, and so yeah, they're all sort of leapfrogging each other.
Yeah, and then the amount of energy that they're going to want to consume. I know that the platform XAI has also developed a lot of stuff, and I use Grok as well because it seems to generate images better than ChatGPT, and it'll generate any type of image. It doesn't get filtered as much. And I know that Elon Musk has bought a lot of NVIDIA chips, and then I think that it's a big race for a lot of these companies to get computing power, and obviously the energy that comes with it, right? That it's required.
Yeah, that's right. There was just an announcement, I think, in the last couple of days that Oracle, major software company, is planning to build some small nuclear reactor sites to power their data centers of the future. AI is an energy hog without a doubt, and so yeah, the needs of energy will only increase. I would like to think that some of that could go to Alberta as well, and into Canada, and use up some of our excess hydro electric as well.
Yeah, I've said that before. I think even Scott and I have talked about that. Alberta sits in the position to become the Saudi Arabia of the world, because it has a blend of energy, and including LNG, oil and gas. They are licensed to put SMRs into place, the nuclear small modular reactors. They are also the best place in Canada for solar and wind and that. So they have that big blend of energy and big space to build things too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I was just listening to this ex-CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, and he was saying that they want to cozy up to Canada because the energy potential here is incredible, and they'd rather be doing it with someone who's a security partner as opposed to a potential threat. So.
I think Alberta especially sits in the catbird seat with all of its energy that's ready to be deployed right now, and then a lot of the energy that can be developed. I've talked to a person out of Calgary there that has put I think 3.5 gigawatts of solar into play, and then she was talking about putting some SMRs, and she's working with some of the reserves on land that way, so that it kind of like skirts some of that regulation or some of the hurdles that can be there, and making some of these places like utility companies. And like everybody wants to have a utility company, right? Because you get like trailer revenues forever, right? It's one of the best businesses to be in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I think the future looks bright for energy in Canada for sure.
And then I think right now she said that 3.5 gigawatts is all going to fintech, because in BC right now you can't license another Bitcoin miner operation, but you can in Alberta.
Right. Yeah.
In your daily life, how are you using AI right now? Just yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding it starting to creep into a lot of different tools I'm using. I mentioned Perplexity.ai, which I find is another great Google replacement. There's another company called Anthropic. They have a series of models called Claude. I'm particularly interested in this model called Claude Sonnet, and has better sort of reasoning capabilities, and so it's better at writing software code, but also sort of reasoning through a problem. So I'm finding I'm using that a lot, but also, I use another software called Notion, which is just kind of a productivity tool, and I've been really impressed with the AI features that they're starting to add in. And so there seems to be creeping into a lot of the different tools that I use on a day-to-day basis.
So at this summit, we're going to have Peter Diamandis, who's the founder of XPRIZE, which is, he's launched tons of companies into, or created a bunch of entrepreneurs that want to like delve into technology, including the space race. I mean, part of that private space race, we've seen the first private spacewalk today. And a lot of that had to do with the first XPRIZE, which was, like getting the first private aircraft into space. And that was won by Richard Branson's Galactica. And then over that, Blue Origin is there. And then obviously SpaceX, which is by far and away the leading space company. Mm-hmm. Like the Boeing thing, when they're just like, the astronauts get stranded, who are you going to call? You're going to call SpaceX, right? And they actually put it out on a tweet, hey, we're at the ready. And I just think that with what Tesla's developing too, one of the cool things is vision-based learning, which I think is even outside of what we were talking about, large language models, but vision-based learning is kind of like how we learn, right? We, as a human species, we learn by watching. And if the robots, which the Teslas are basically, there's 5 million of these robots around the world, they're driving around, learning, taking in data. They have 8 cameras around them, and they're taking data constantly. And they learn from that. And these guys in Salmon Arm have done the same thing with their mushroom picking. They're learning versus the vision base. Every time they learn something, they take that data and they write code around that themselves and how to pick the next best mushroom.
Yeah, the capacity for how these things can learn exponentially is, I think, it's a concept that just is hard to even wrap your head around. And, I was like, think about a year ago, the image generation, it couldn't do fingers, right? Like, yeah. And now it's making whole movies that are
you can't tell the difference.
You can't even tell it. Yeah. So we're talking about people being able to make movie quality films in their basement using natural language prompts in like a year.
You could do alternative endings. You could do it in every language. Yeah. The lips will move with the language.
Yeah.
I even, we use a lot of video editing software. We're creating a lot of videos here now. I think this is the 4th live stream I've been on today. So we're clipping that. And where that would take typically, like if we shot this video, let's say, 6 months ago, we would end up, if we didn't live stream, like say a year ago, we didn't live stream it, we would have to take off of 2 or 3 cameras. It's like gigabytes of data, right? So then it's like just to upload it alone would take forever. Then you got to sync the audio. So the turnaround would be a day probably. And, like somebody working on it the full day. Now we're live streaming live. We can dump it into a software and then we can take the text, and all we do is take the text and take that piece of text, and we can take out the ums and ahs and all that stuff and clean up the sound. And then you can get clips by just taking that text, putting it in another place, and there's that clip. It's done. You don't have to edit the video. The video is edited, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just, so we can, what would take like, say, 10 man hours is less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. And then another feature is some models are able to caption images that you see or videos that you see, or provide a synopsis of say,
I use that all the time too,
or a major text. Yeah.
So I did a really cool experiment the other day. I said, tell me the 10 best self-help books ever written. And so it gave me that and a little brief on each one, right? And I said, tell me the 10 most common themes throughout those books. And it did that. And then you can expand on whatever you want to do. I mean, I got in a 10-minute conversation what would take me, weeks to read and go through, right? Because, a lot of times in a book, there's one salient point that you take away, and that's a win, right? When you get to take away one salient point from a book, right? So it just boiled down that, quickly for me, right? So it allows you to 10x yourself. Like the video thing for us, it's huge. And then another thing we did, like we're doing these mini workshops. We're doing one tonight as well. And it's a beer and pizza thing. And it's so we did this image, and we used to have like 10 designers back here. And then you would say, do an image of, or if I would ask for an image of a robot eating beer and pizza. So somebody would have to go into our Getty and they would have to find a pizza and a beer and then a robot and then kind of put it together, because there is no beer eating robot, right? Or drinking robot. So, but with Grok, I mean, it's literally 15 seconds and nobody could put that image together better than it did. Like it's seamless. It doesn't look like somebody put it together.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then you think about what John was talking about a little bit earlier, this idea where it's not that far away, where multiple AIs will be working together in concert to refine each other's work and improve their productivity autonomously.
Exponential learning.
So you'll have a team of AIs operating together where each has been trained up to do one specific thing really well, and the human person is just going to kind of be supervising that work. And so when you get to that stage, it could perform all kinds of functions, non-physical tasks.
ARK Invest put out a piece, I think, yesterday. ARK Invest, they follow Tesla a lot, and they put out a piece on Optimus. I don't know if you're familiar with Optimus or not, but Optimus is the robot of Tesla. Mm-hmm. So they put the brain of Tesla inside of Optimus. And at first, Optimus is looking for the lanes because it's thinking it's a car, right? It's just like, where do I go? Because it's walking around, right, looking for lanes. But what you were just saying, if Optimus 1 learns a skill and there's 10,000 other Optimuses, all 10,000 have learned that skill at the same time. So they're all learning different skills and putting it into the same neural net, and they're exponentially learning, and they don't, like you and I, we need to sleep and do different things. And, like a lot of us have like 1 or 2 hours of like high efficiency capacity a day where they have, 24 hours a day at a high level. So, I mean, if you don't have to imagine too much of where this can go.
Yeah, that's right. And the combination of AI and robotics is a major breakthrough. And I think in October we're expecting an announcement from Tesla with their robotaxi
1010.
And so that's another example of that. And just imagine all these cars willing to drive around 24 hours a day. They can also go get their own gas. They'll need to pay for it in something. I think that eventually it'll be Bitcoin. But it's it'll also free up a lot of the need for personal ownership of cars and parking spaces around the city.
Yeah, so I've used full self-drive right now. I've been using it since May 1st when it was offered. It's got exponentially better. At first it was like the first time I used autopilot, it was kind of like code, where it was like 11 dot whatever was based on code. The version 12 is vision based, and then just recently, I think even a week ago, there's no nag because you had to touch the wheel every like minute or so just to let the car know you were there. Now there's no nag, so that you don't have to touch the wheel at all, and then the camera's just watching your eyes. So it's attention based driving right now. So it's just watching your eyes. And they launched in the U.S. right now a summon. So if you're in a Costco. And you're at the front there and your car's way in the back corner, you just press the button and the car will come to you. Pretty sweet. And I use it every day, and it's awesome.
And the ability for it to provide service to a large part of the population too. Once more Teslas are on the road, they'll even they'll be able to manage themselves even better.
So Tony Seba, who runs Rethink X, or is part of Rethink X, says if everybody drove a Tesla, they would save 900,000 lives a year.
Right.
Globally.
Humans have not traditionally been amazing drivers. We do our best, but we're erratic and lose attention much more so than the machines will.
I have run a few red lights in the past, not intentionally, especially ones that you're not, and then you look up and it's like, whoa, that was a red light, right? So I think that the cool thing is, like you can, if you had one, it could drop you off at work, not need a parking space, and actually go to work and become an Uber for, until it picked you up, and then drop you off at home and then go back to work as an Uber. So you're right, there'll be a lot less vehicles needed, a lot less resources needed, because that car will become like part of the economy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Uber for everything seems to be taking place as we speak.
And then so part of what, where Bitcoin comes into play is, obviously, if there's not a people doing transactions, no credit cards, you can't. There's going to be a need for a way to exchange money digitally without human interception or intervention, right? So there's going to have to be a way for that car to transact with somebody without, something else happening, right?
Yeah, it's a money system where it's based around permissions rather than the traditional sort of like gatekeeping elements of know your customer and anti-money laundering. The Bitcoin network runs on somebody's ability to sign a transaction from a wallet, and that thing could be a person, and it could actually also not be a person. This is something that an AI could be taught how to do. Mm-hmm. And so it's a way for a value transfer to happen between two non-people. It's not going to be
right, because the person could get picked up and then just do the transaction, and the car would only drive once it gets the verification that the transaction's been processed. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, and a whole bunch of things. Like if you think about even text to action, like sales, like we saw a Google demonstration where an AI phoned to make a hairdressing appointment and had a back and forth with the receptionist, and the receptionist did not know it was not an automated AI.
Yeah, and then you add Bitcoin into the mix, and they'll be paying for the services as well. The biggest thing with Bitcoin is that it's final settlement. So once it goes from me to you, it's yours and yours alone, and never can be clawed back. So that's a very important thing for AI, to have a kind of a bearer instrument money, much like cash, that there's no middleman to kind of claw it back.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of businesses right now pay, and it's a good business for the credit card system, and we pay a lot. You pay that 3% on every transaction. Everybody wants to use a credit card when they pay businesses too, because obviously they want the air miles and stuff like that. But it gets very costly for business, right? And if you think of the revenue potential for the MasterCard and credit and Visa and all those people taking 3% of every transaction that happens.
Yeah, and then also in a credit card, the final settlement I think might be 7 days or something like that. Like it's that the machines won't want to wait around for a longer settlement time. So I think eventually, if you ask ChatGPT what is the money it wants to earn the best, it says Bitcoin, and I think that.
And if you even think of payroll, I mean, a lot of people use a payroll service such as Ceridian. Like this payroll company takes the money from the payor a couple of days early, and it doesn't end up in the employee's account for like a couple of days later. And then you just think that the money, the arbitrage they have on sitting on those funds for that long, right? So especially when most people are using a payroll services company, and they're sitting on billions of dollars of interest that they get there and just on that arbitrage, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same thing with like, people buying Starbucks gift cards, and Starbucks has basically become a bank. Like they make their money on reinvesting the money that should be sitting in gift cards, because
and they hope you throw that away, right? Forget about it or do whatever. Yeah. And they did change that law recently where they used to expire those gift cards, right? Which was the best thing ever. You can sell as many gift cards as you want. A lot of people don't use them forever, and now at least they have a law here in Canada where they can't expire that gift card. But they do that with some credit cards still. Like you can get a credit card now. You can buy one of these prepaid credit cards, and it'll actually expire, and it'll chew away the balance. Like every month, it'll eat the balance. Right? It's like it'll eat like 2 or 3% a month or something like that.
Wow,
it's pretty good, right? Self-eating. It should just show it disappearing, and it's just sitting on the counter, right? So that's where I think Bitcoin plays a big role in the future. And I think it's the convergence of energy, AI, and a digital currency that allows transactions to happen worldwide, because we're seeing, Scott and I have talked about this lots, the inflationary pressures eating away at your dollar, and a dollar that can be transacted worldwide, right? You know what I mean? Like you can transact Bitcoin no matter where you are, right? Mm-hmm. You can't do that with Canadian dollar. If I was going to try and pay somebody today in Dubai, I mean, they would charge me a lot to do it. And I have to I probably have to convert to USD. And then plus then I have to pay a wire and all these other things, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to try and use the traditional rails, money rails that have evolved over the last 100 years in the digital age, where things are going. And the speed of AI is only going to accentuate the cement-like nature of how traditional banking rails work.
So here's the big question. We're getting this for some people that are like curious as to whether they should go to the summit or not. Is I think a lot of people are scared that this is going to take their job away. And it may well do that, but I think the people that understand it may make themselves more valuable as opposed to expendable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, regardless of what it might mean for your own profession or your company, this is just something that everybody needs to have a base understanding of what's going on, how fast it's going on, and how it might impact. Like if you're just going to choose to try to ignore it entirely, like that's not going to do you very well.
Yeah, I think that you're right, Jim. I think that the first people it will replace are the people who have completely ignored AI. It'll be the people who are abreast of AI and understand its applications in their job, that will sort of be able to use AI to their purposes and keep their jobs. Most of what AI does these days is just assist people in helping them accomplish their tasks. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend. I think it's not the right thing to hide your head in the sand. I think you got to pay attention and see where it's going.
And I think that Peter Diamandis said it. We just put up a video about that, and we talked about the real thing right now is AI plus people and what you can do with it, right? Like it's like learning to use the tool. Like they've just given us a better hammer. Mm-hmm. So learn how to wield that hammer to make yourself more effective, I think. And that's especially for young people if they're looking at their career. Because, I mean, there's a lot of things that have like, a sunset, right? I think, like if you think if autonomous driving can get licked, if what they show us in 1010 has a clear path forward, there's a lot of change coming in just in the driving profession, right? Mm-hmm.
40 million jobs in the U.S. pertain to operating a vehicle.
Right. And just think about and they're good paying jobs too, because transport truck driving is they make decent money, right? But and then like if you think of the banking industry, like I mean, if you're filling out loan documents, I mean, I think the AI can probably complete loan documents based on if ever your information is uploaded, you either qualify or you don't qualify, right? Like it's all there. Probably tell you beforehand whether you can qualify, right? Probably send you messages and say, hey, we got a loan here waiting for you, or not, right?
Yeah, I think the message is understand AI, but if you don't, it's at your peril. I think you really want to understand this the curve that this is on and see where it's going.
Yeah, so we do have Peter that's going to give us that broad overview, and he's spoken with tons of people, like he's worked with Elon Musk and stuff like that too, and also Kane and Alicia will be on the stage for 2 hours, and they're going to talk about how like all those tools that you talked about, Perplexity and all those tools, which tools that you can start putting into play right away. And then we have Jeff Booth coming to speak, and you're going to talk on Bitcoin. And I think you're going to get so much from this conference, which is a full day, September 27th in Kelowna here. And we'll put a link here at the bottom of that too. And I mean, I look forward to it. And you're coming all the way from Toronto, so that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to meeting you in person.
I'm looking forward to meeting you as well. And any final words, Scott?
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. The first Level Up was easily the best business seminar, I think, in the history of Kelowna, and I would expect that this is going to be another one of those super high value days.
I think that one was really good on leadership, right? And I think that's important for everybody to have leadership. But I think this one is so important to this is a transformational, like we're at an inflection point in the world. Like honestly, this is a game changer. I was talking to one of the partners in one of the accounting firms in this building here, and he had a young guy next to him, and he said to the young guy, he said, "I'm glad I'm aging out, right?" Because he said, "I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm glad I'm aging out as an accountant." So it's scary. So you got to figure out how to best utilize it for your future.
Start by understanding it.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, and we'll see you shortly. And
Okay,
we thank you for watching Kelowna Now.